All right, real quick, let's talk about what the modern shoulder needs, because the modern shoulder is used completely different than the way it was designed, right? What do we do all day? We sit. We're not hunting, we're not gathering, we're not climbing, we're not reaching back. We sit, we sit, we sit, and then maybe we go to yoga or we go to the gym and we start to lift weights. So we need to have an idea of what the modern shoulder needs, or what the shoulder needs in order to create a truly healthy, happy, functioning, stable shoulder joint. Okay. So when we look at the shoulder, let's do real quick anatomy. When we look at the shoulder, it's just like the hip. It's a ball in the socket. But the body, when it needs more range of motion in the joint, is going to sacrifice natural stability, which means it's going to sacrifice bone structure. So in the hip, right, the hip is more like a bowl, and a ball sits in the bowl. Hopefully, right? Hopefully it sits nicely in the bowl, which means that we have some bone structure over here, which means it's going to handle a lot of the load from the bone structure. The shoulder, even though it's the same, it's a ball and socket. It is more like a tea saucer with the teacup in it, and the ball spins on the kind of more flat surface. So it is a ball and socket, right? You see the socket is in here, but it has more greater range of motion, so we can reach up, we can reach back, we can internally rotate, externally rotate with greater capacity, potentially, right, hopefully, than our hip joints. What does that mean? That means that a more mobile structure, instead of having bone stabilize it, it's going to have soft tissues. It's going to have muscles, ligaments, tendons that help support and hold the structure of the shoulder. Okay? That's a good thing. That means that we can use our shoulders way different than we can our hip. We have greater range of motion with it. But a more mobile joint has a higher risk of instability. So we need to make sure that we have a stable shoulder to keep it healthy, to keep it happy. What creates a stable joint? A stable joint is balance in all things. Sounds obvious, right? But the number one, when you think of balance, you think of strength and flexibility, which is good. We want to make sure that we have a strong and equally flexible shoulder. Because if we just focus on strength and we focused on rigidity, absolute rigidity is not stable, okay? If we just focused on flexibility and I just wanted to get these loose noodles that I can put behind my head and then turn it in 360 degrees around my body, that's not going to be a stable joint. But if I have the ability to reach up and hold myself into position and say in down dog or wheel pose, and I can hold it with strength and flexibility, if I have a good balance of strength and flexibility, I have a stable joint, right? So we always want to work balance between strength and flexibility. But also we want to work for a stable joint. We want to make sure that we have equal strength and range in all the different rotations. Think about it. What do we do in yoga a lot? We chaturanga, so we get the front of the shoulder. We reach the arm overhead in crescent lunge, right? In Urdhva Hastasana, in wheel pose, in dolphin. We do all of these things with the arm over the head. How often do we reach the arms back and load it? How often do we do dips, right? We don't do very many dips, even though we probably should. We probably should grab some yoga blocks, right, as a yoga teacher and put that into your sequences of adding dips into your classes. How often do we internally rotate the shoulder here? Quite a bit, right? We do a lot of binding in yoga. This is a good thing to do as long as we're adding strength, because we don't want to just loosen the shoulder. We want to make sure we have strength and length. But here's the thing. This is one area of internal rotation. This is another angle of internal rotation. This is another angle of internal rotation. The shoulder needs to have balance between all of the different internal rotations, because the muscles required have a different load in all the different angles. So how often have you done this? If you've been taking my classes, you know this is what we do, right? We do this, right? We do this. So we need balance in there. But also think about it. When we're sitting at our desk, what's happening to the back of the shoulder? The back of the shoulder is in a lengthened position, okay? But how often are we actually strengthening the back and outside of the shoulder? How much are we externally rotating the shoulder in this position, but not just stretching the external rotation? How often are we asking the shoulder to take it into position. So for a true balanced shoulder, if you want to work your shoulder to have happy, healthy shoulders long term and you're practicing yoga, here's some things that I would say add to your repertoire, add to your sequences, add to your classes, add to your practice, okay? Number one, make sure that your shoulder can pull itself into position and rotate it through all the different rotations by itself. What I mean by that is, again, the body is always going to overcompensate. This is very common. When I ask somebody to not let the rib cage flare, reach your arms straight up toward the ceiling, a lot of them are actually going to end here. And is this full flexion of the shoulder? No. Full flexion of the shoulder is here. But what happens is, because we don't have the strength and control of the shoulder using the shoulder, is our low back goes, I want to be a shoulder, or really where our lumbar meets our thoracic at the thoracolumbar junction, it goes, I want to be a shoulder so bad, okay? So what is it going to do? I get to here and I stop, but I think, my teacher is telling me I need to reach my arm up toward the ceiling. So the low back is going to go, I want to be a shoulder, let me help you. Now it gives my brain the signal, I have a shoulder. I have a fully flexioned shoulder. The problem is you don't, okay? You have a shoulder that can flex to here, and then you have a thoracolumbar junction that can get you to here. So we want to make sure that we can have the shoulder pull us into position. And then as we rotate, right, as we reach back, we want the shoulder to be able to pull itself backwards without the rest of the body having to do this. And then we want to be able to bring the arm down and then bring it up, reach it back, rotating the ball through all of these different rotations. The problem is we don't do that very often. Why? Because we think, I need to reach my arms over the head. I need to reach backwards and my whole torso turns with me. That is not a bad thing, but the shoulder needs to be able to do that because there are specific muscles that are asked to do that so that it can support stabilizing the shoulder. If your external rotators in your shoulder are never asked to externally rotate the shoulder, and then when you come into wheel pose and your shoulder is externally rotated, okay, it is externally rotated, but your external rotators have never fired because you sit like this all day, right? What's going to happen here is then lat, deltoid, other muscles in the shoulder are also going to have to take over for the external rotators to stabilize. Because again, you don't have the bone structure to take on any load. It's all soft tissues. And then those muscles start to get cranky. It's like a group project. If you have areas of the group that go, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to take the day off because I'm not into the group project. So that means that, let's say the supraspinatus, right, one of your rotator cuff muscles goes, I'm the star student. I can't let us fail. I'm going to keep working. But guess what? Over and over and over again of having to do these group projects, at some point, the supraspinatus is going to go, you know what? Bleep it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to signal to the brain that I'm done by causing pain. So a lot of times we wake up with chaturanga shoulder, right? And we're like, oh man, it hurts on the front. Well, it's not that you did chaturanga. It's that you did chaturanga too much without doing anything else. So the shoulder needs to be able to take itself in all the positions. How do we do that? We do that through our shoulder cars, which I have plenty of videos on that. We also need to balance out. If we're doing a lot of chaturangas, if we want to continue to do chaturanga, we also have to do a lot of externally rotated positions. So when you're in your forearm plank, right, come into forearm plank, but turn the palms up, lift the hands off the floor, and then pull the hands apart, right? It's like you have an imaginary resistance band and you're going to pull the hands apart. You need to counter all of the actions we do. If we do a lot of arms over the head in yoga, we need to make sure that we're reaching the arms back. We need to strengthen the back as much as we strengthen the front. We need to take the ball through all the different rotations. We need to create true balance, okay? True balance means happy, healthy shoulders. So, again, what do we need to do? We need to do our cars. All my videos, when I'm saying, what does the body need? You're gonna hear me say it. We need to do our cars. We need to take the arm, the shoulder, and have it rotate itself through all the different rotations. It's going to maintain the range of motion we have. It's going to strengthen the rotator muscles. And it's just going to provide neural feedback of brain to shoulder of how to actually properly move the thing. We need to create better balance between strength and flexibility, okay? And not just strength and chaturanga. We need strength on the back. We need strength underneath. We need strength on top. We need strength in all the different rotations. But we also need mobility. We also need flexibility. So when you take the shoulder into your lengthened positions, you come into a bind, right? Don't grab the fingers. Don't grab the hands. That's going to shut the muscles off. Push the knuckles together. Or if you're like, I really need to bind, grip and try to pull the arms apart. So that way, the shoulders now are working in these positions. And then last, the other tip that we need is you have a muscle, it's called your latissimus dorsi, it's called your lat. It comes into the thoracolumbar fascia down here, and it kind of connects with the glutes on the opposite side. But it runs this big fan-like muscle, and it connects right here to your inner bicep, right up here towards the head of the bicep. And what it does is, number one, when it engages, it adducts, it squeezes and stabilizes. It's a big stabilizer of the shoulder. But also, when the arm is up overhead, it helps bring the arm back down, okay? So, if you're in wheel pose, think about this, right? If you're in wheel pose and you've been sitting all day just like this, so this muscle is in a shortened position. The lat is in a shortened position. But then when you go into wheel pose, it's above. It's above, and now it's above the shoulder. Now it's being pulled on. It's being stretched, okay? It's also being loaded. But the problem is this has also been sitting all day. You haven't been training this lat. So this lat now is weak and in a lengthened position. So what it's going to do, what does it want to do? It's going to want to pull down because this muscle pulls the arm down. So when it's tight and can't handle the load, it's going to want to go back to where it's comfortable. So it's going to resist you in your wheel pose. So we need to lengthen and strengthen the lats. How do we do that? We do it through side bends here. We do it through side bends to get this muscle to lengthen. But the best thing that you can do for your lat, I'm going to tell you this right now. The best thing you can do for your lat, add more dolphins, right? I'm going to tell you this right now. This is a little secret. I may be overly obsessed with dolphins. I do them pretty much in every single one of my classes. I do them in my own personal practice. Not because I love them, okay? I don't like them. They're okay now. They don't really bother me. I'd much rather chaturanga to upward facing dog because it just feels flowier and nicer. But I'll tell you what, dolphin gets this muscle long and strong. So then when you go into wheel pose, the muscle has had some experience of being long and strong. So I don't do chaturanga to up dog very much, not because I don't like the transition. I love it. It's because I would rather come down and go into dolphin through sphinx pose to get this muscle long and strong. So I was a little bit longer. You guys know me by now, right? It's going to be, when I say it's going to be quick, I'm being hopeful. I'm manifesting it. But what do we need? We need balance between strength and flexibility. We can't just have strong shoulders. We can't just have long shoulders. There needs to be good balance because a true stable joint is one that can go into position and hold you there, okay? We also need to have balance between all the different rotations. We can't just internally rotate here. We need to internally rotate here, and somewhere in between. We need to do more external rotation, especially if we love chaturanga. We need to do more external rotation. We need to do more locust pose to strengthen the back of the shoulder. We also need to externally rotate here and externally rotate here, okay? So we need balance, strength and flexibility. We need balance in the rotations of the shoulder. So do your cars, okay? Do your cars, they're gonna love it. Do your dolphins and externally rotate the shoulder.